Hi, and welcome to the Two Lost Cats podcast. I'm Monica,
And I'm Owen.
and this week we're going to talk about the third episode of Acolyte, Destiny. Let's dig into it. What are your thoughts?
I didn't have much of an opinion one way or another on this episode. I kind of felt really neutral. And while this was maybe one of the most different episodes of Star Wars ever, and I'm seeing a lot of feedback from people who are not necessarily thrilled about it. I personally felt like it will probably go down as the most forgettable episode of the season.
Yeah.
We in all honesty, we watched it 2 days ago, I think.
We didn't feel a need to rewatch it because there wasn't a lot that we missed. A lot of times the last two episodes that we watched, I felt like there were little bits and crumbs that we missed, and this episode I didn't really get that.
Yeah.
It was kind of felt like a setting up for the next scene kind of episode, like a filler episode.
I felt like the opposite.
Really?
It felt like it was explaining why the first two episodes are what they are. This is a history lesson.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about May. The scene starts with the girls, twins, May and Osha. Why am I saying Ashla? Oh my god,
the spirit of the Force.
I'm just all about Ahsoka lately. Okay.
Someone's been playing New Horizon all morning,
and
that's what they named their island.
Okay.
You want to check it out?
No, I'm not. My island is not available to the public
yet.
No.
Give it time.
So let's talk about Osha and May. So opening the scene, I was a little I don't know if disturbed is the right word to see them using the Force on like insects or creatures or whatever. I was ooh, I don't really like that, but that's what they were doing.
I know you said insects, but I thought you said they were using the Force in sex.
Oh no. Insects.
I
don't know what they were. They looked like little butterflies or something.
Yeah. Both girls are abusing bugs by using the Force, and that felt strange. I actually saw a TikTok where someone said that both of them are Force choking butterflies. and that's not what I thought when I first saw it. I just kind of thought they were holding them still.
Yeah.
But it could have been both.
Yeah. You don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else? Because I'm looking at my notes and it's more so I take notes on the episodes and I don't have a lot of interesting notes. I noted when they get into more of the scene, we see the two moons, one is red, one is blue, which leads me back to the title name where they have the red and blue flare from the eclipse. So that makes sense, right? So there's an eclipse for the ascension ceremony.
Yeah. And it actually looks like moon. On this planet they have a blue moon and a red moon.
Yeah. That's what this said.
I know, but I didn't think we would get there. Which I don't know. It's kind of fun and odd and interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels like when I think of multiple suns or moons in Star Wars, they all kind of look the same most of the time.
And so it sounds like when we get into the Coven, it sounds like the witches have been trying to find a safe place and running from the Jedi. It sounds like maybe.
Yeah, it starts off feeling so much of this story, and Star Wars has always kind of been reflective of life here on Earth in weird ways. Feels very old timey on Earth, the witches are persecuted and they have to hide, and that seems to be where this story starts out. Another thing that someone pointed out online was just the creepiness of the Jedi spying on the little girls in the forest.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't realize how creepy that was when I was looking at it. I just thought the Jedi are afraid of the witches, and so of course they don't want to reveal that they're, as the persecutors themselves, out here trying to figure out their numbers,
So when we jump into like it looks like they're in a class kind of situation, the next scene, like I thought it was really cute, and now I realize like there was more to it when the twins were like, stop it, like doing like normal like sibling things. Like I didn't grow up with siblings, but you did, so maybe that's more familiar for you. But like that like cute little like pushing back and forth, right? And like then you realize like there's some clear differences happening between the sisters. Like there's some like differences in what path they want to go in their lives, right? Osha's not really on board with the whole witch thing. She's not sure about it, and May's just like, "This is the way." Like,
yeah, I thought that was a fun dynamic. And the question I kept coming up with was their family seems to love them and really value them. You know, they're twins. That makes them special. They don't even know that they're spoiler for later in the episode, like force created twins from two moms. And it's odd to me that Osha doesn't want to have this life because you know they're in a nice town. You know, people give them treats as soon as they come in from hanging out in the forest where they're not supposed to be. You know, they have two moms who clearly love them both in their own way, but you know they both really love them. And so I thought it made me want to ask the question, why does Osha not want this life? It's one thing, you know, and probably typical of half of twins wanting to have their own life. And, you know, the name of this episode, Destiny Choose Their Own Destiny. I'm sure that's very common. But at the same time, like, why is she so adamantly not wanting this life? And it says something about the culture of this place and these people that she's afraid to say that. You know, she in some way feels trapped in this place.
Yeah. Oh man. That's like hearing you say she in some ways feels trapped in this place just reminds me of like the scene near the end where May traps Osha in what I assume is like her bedroom, the kid's bedroom.
Yeah,
and,
it looks like a bedroom.
Yeah. And like traps her in there and then sets the place on fire.
Which, yeah, is maybe why she's afraid of saying she wants to leave. Because, you know, in many cultures, when you say you want to leave, historically, you know, they might try to kill you. And this is supposed to be a historical story. And in a lot of ways, it reflects history.
Yeah. Totally. Oh, didn't think about that. So let's jump back a little bit to the girls being tested to be Padawans, which I thought was kind of interesting, like, because they're so old. Like, I thought the Jedi would just be like, they're over that certain age. And I don't know if maybe they just weren't as picky then, because I feel like in the movies that we're familiar with, like, they're very, like, you know, like they don't even want to bother. Like, remember with Anakin, they were just kind of like, he's too old. Like,
well, and remember, like, if you think back to our last episode of our podcast and just how wrong I was about this.
Yeah.
I had the assumption that testing came after they lost their family. No. The testing was to have the legal jurisdiction to take them from the family. That's what it was. Yeah. And they stated that outright. Like, oh, we have the right to test the children and we're going to do it. And then you're going to bow to our will, basically, is what they said.
Which goes back to that feeling of like very forceful, like, what's the right word? They're just using like, not the force, but it feels like they're being very heavy-handed when it comes to like rules and weapons and using the force inappropriately. And it just feels very like, is police state the right word? No, that's not the right way to say it, but like it feels very
I think
like
that's fair.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I mean, think of when the 4 Jedi first come into the Coven, and you know, it seems to be an ongoing theme where a younger Jedi is very quick to draw their weapon, and the little one, I can't remember his name, who was in his little force protection dream for like 10 years in the future.
Torben,
yeah. he's very quick to reach for his weapon, and
Mm-hmm.
it's so reflective of the current police state where everyone's scared of these people who have all the power, and they're still frightened themselves and constantly heavy-handedly overreacting in a way that's completely uncalled for. Like, yeah, you're surrounded by witches, and they're more scared of you than you are of them, and you're also surrounded by people who are stronger than you, and you think you're the first person who needs to like start the fight.
Yeah.
That doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
It seems like a good way to piss off your boss.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's just something that it just seems like a theme, and it's obviously like a conscious theme throughout this series, like being a little bit more forceful with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I hope something they lean into with this show is some pretty clear political corruption among the Jedi, because they're giving us all the warning signs.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I want the drama. I genuinely like, or generally like, I like the political drama. Like when we were watching Clone Wars and stuff, those were the episodes like I would just be super into, like the political stuff, like within the senators and like all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of hoping there's something like that. Going to after the girls have been tested, so like we're not gonna go like scene by scene, right? Like we don't need to like explain to you everything that happens, but like I thought it was interesting how after the testing and all that, right before May traps Osha in her bedroom, I thought it was really fun to see that like Osha had like a drawing, and it looked like to me like the Jedi Order logo and like maybe a lightsaber. She was just like doodling, like just being a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I doodle too, so like it's not a kid thing, but like you know what I mean though? Like I just thought it was nice. And I was wondering like, did she see the Jedi Order logo, or was she like envisioning that from?
Do you think we'll see that in like an older flashback from
like maybe she's been drawing this?
I mean,
before
they're new to the place that they're at. Presumably, they were fleeing the Jedi to get there, and maybe she's seen the logo in person, and something about that appealed to her.
Yeah. So let's talk about the fire, because we both had opinions on it. Not that it was bad, but also just didn't make a lot of sense.
It was a special force fire that burns metal and stone.
Yeah, and how did it kill everyone? Like,
it definitely did not kill anyone.
I'm just confused about that part, and I don't know if it was
like,
meant.
Those witches were dead, but they were not burnt.
Yeah. So I don't know if it was meant to be confusing, because like maybe we're seeing just a small sliver of what happened through Osha's point of view, and so like maybe more went down, and that's what happened. Like, you know what I mean? So because it doesn't make sense the way they presented it to us, and maybe it's intended to not make sense.
No, being 3 episodes into this show, the misdirect is over the top, and it's constant, and it makes me concerned that we're gonna finish the season and not have straight answers to most of our questions.
Yeah.
Like imagine this show finishes and we don't find out how all those witches got unalived.
Yeah.
Just bodies of witches all over. Like what, they force choked them all to death?
Yeah.
Because none of them appeared to have been on fire. There's no smoke, so they didn't die of smoke inhalation.
Yeah, there's no like rubble, like.
I didn't pause the clip or zoom in or anything, but I didn't see blood. So no one was stabbed and no one appeared to be dismembered.
Yeah.
Did the Jedi just force push them off a cliff? I expected answers to some of those questions in that episode, and I didn't get them, and hopefully we'll get them in the future. But I don't know if they're trying to keep things PG by showing us a load of dead women. That doesn't make sense to me. I think we need a cause.
Yeah.
And I think we're supposed to assume it, and I don't have enough evidence to assume what it was.
Yeah. So, yeah, those are our thoughts. I feel like I didn't really have anything else to note.
Well, let's hit the notes, because you skipped a few of them. So
they're not that exciting. It was more just like me. I was taking notes thinking it would add
I
up to
thought, okay,
something
so I
more.
thought this one was exciting. Coral carried them,
Yeah.
and Anase created them. And
Hmm.
this is something that's been creating a lot of drama online because people are saying, oh, Anakin's not special anymore. I don't think that's fair at all. Just because to us, Anakin has always been the first person. I don't even, it's not even like fully, is it fully canon? I don't know. But okay, the assumption that Anakin was the first person created this way somehow made him special. And it was just that. It was an assumption. Like, you did an experiment for the first time and you created the chosen one, that seems unlikely.
Yeah.
And so, while I enjoyed the assumption that everyone else enjoyed for the last how many years Star Wars has been around, that Anakin was this special chosen one, that Plagueis was the first person who manipulated the Force to make a virgin birth, whatever you want to call it. It's it shouldn't be shocking that maybe there was some trial and error in this process, and maybe he wasn't the only person attempting to do things this way, and it actually makes a ton of sense that maybe a force powerful group of women came up with the idea first to have their own children.
Yeah.
Is that so shocking?
Yeah.
I mean, it makes a lot of logical sense to me. It actually, the idea that Plagueis wanted to do this in the first place without having gotten the idea from somewhere seems more odd than the idea that a bunch of women who presumably can't have children on their own, without men around, found a way to do it and make it happen, and that makes more sense.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. There's a lot of drama about this, and people saying it ruins Star Wars. It doesn't ruin anything.
Mm-mm.
It makes things make more sense, and I think that's something that a lot of people are missing with a lot of the new Star Wars stuff. Is there's so much hate for the sequel series, and there was some unusual writing. I think we can all admit, no matter how much you liked it, some things didn't make a ton of sense, and something that Disney and Star Wars have been doing with a lot of these other series, like The Mandalorian and so on, is explaining the gaps in those stories that make them make more sense.
Yes. And that is something that I said like in our intro video, how like I had a really hard time getting into Star Wars because nothing made sense to me. The gaps were like too wide and I
Yeah.
didn't like it. It didn't feel well thought out. Didn't make any sense. I was just left being like, what the heck? What is happening here? So like
Yeah.
it's nice to hear you say that because like I feel like not to like throw shade on anyone, but I feel like Filoni's coming in and is like doing massive cleanup. Like he's been doing cleanup since he joined the Star Wars IP or whatever, not IP, but you know what I mean, like the Star Wars company. Like
Everything that man has had connection with has improved this entire universe so much and made it so much more enjoyable. And ever since his promotion this winter to whatever his new kind of overseeing role is, I'm even more excited for the future. So
yeah,
I think nothing but positive thoughts with regards to the future of Star Wars. And I'll still think that regardless of how I think this series goes,
yeah.
I'm still have a lot of positive output or positive expectations. And I think if you watched, what was that newest animated series, Tales of the Empire? Is that what it was
Mhm.
called?
Mhm.
That's the kind of work that Filoni's done in the past, and um, if you had heard of any of those characters and watched that, I think you got a lot of enjoyment out of seeing like what happened to Barriss. I mean, how long were so many of us thinking she was the one who rescued Grogu from the temple?
Yeah.
That wasn't at all what happened. But it was really fun seeing what happened to her and seeing her character develop in ways that I never would have expected.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that I really look forward to with Star Wars.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us know what to expect with the Acolyte, but I think the overall picture is looking really positive right now.
Yeah. I'm excited for it. You know, I love that they're bringing us new characters, new people to like be fans of, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that's really important. Like I oftentimes feel frustrated when people get mad with change and new characters and that kind of stuff, but it's like this character was made to like broaden the fan base, or however you want to say it, you know what I mean? Like be more inclusive and bring more people in that love the group, or the Star Wars group. That's right. If that makes sense.
Are you speaking to the wokeness?
No, I mean, no, I'm just saying like someone like me, like I wasn't into Star Wars at all until these newer series started coming out. So that's what I mean. Like I'm part of that newer group and I appreciate it, and like you know what I mean? Like
I thought you were okay, so actually what I got out of what you said was I think it's kind of great what they're doing by showing more characters who may look more relatable to a broader audience.
Yeah,
and I don't think there's anything about that that hurts Star Wars.
No.
I think it's really important that every kid has someone in these universes that they love who looks like them. Yep. So I think that's really cool.
100%. Yeah. I do have 2 complaints about the series.
The series, okay.
So, okay. Love everything that's going on with it, but I have noticed, and this is just me not being in the show business, like I don't understand this stuff, but I have noticed this is not just the Acolyte, it's many shows that I struggle with this. The costumes. The costumes are
this is her number one complaint of recent.
Every time. Okay, so the costumes are gorgeous. They're beautiful. They like fit everything I'm wanting. Like perfect. But they are not dirty enough. You guys. Like, they're not dirty. They look like they've just been cleaned and pressed, and the environment looks gritty, and like if you look at the environment and you're like, okay, this is feeling pretty dirty, like you think the people who are inhabiting that environment, their clothes would feel a little dirty, right? Like they're not freshly cleaned. So it's not like when we watched Andor, and were they on Coruscant? Was that it?
There's parts of it on Coruscant, yeah.
So like Coruscant, upper levels, like super fancy, very clean, sterile. Yeah, that's the right word.
You said the same word twice.
Yeah. Whatever. So
sterile,
like
sterile. Yes.
It's the same word.
Yeah.
So like very clean and tidy and upper class. Let's just say that. Like, and you know, it's where the senators live, right? And like, so all their clothes are like very clean and fancy and pretty. But then when you go down to the lower levels where it's like a little bit more gritty, like all the clothes are a little bit more gritty too. Like maybe you have some wear and tear. They're not like freshly made. Like I want some clothes that have been worn. That's been my complaint.
So you're saying they did that right on Coruscant and pretty much everywhere else since then.
Yeah.
The costumes, well, thematically fit the environment. They don't look lived in.
Right. So like the Jedi, sure, like when they're on Coruscant, like sure, they should be clean and tidy and all that. But then when they're like out and about and like getting dirty and going on missions, like they should be dirty. They should be a little messed up.
I don't know if I agree.
And like,
on that one in specific, because again, these are the people in control.
Yeah.
And the dream that these acolytes are trying to kill is that these people have the power, that they're in control.
Yeah.
And if they're walking around looking like hobos, that kills the dream on its own.
Yeah.
Part of their image currently is that they're large and in charge, and they can't be doing that walking around with dirty clothes on.
Yeah.
Which is why Yord is such a good little character, because he's
so
he's upholding that image.
Yeah.
He is steaming his clothes between every mission.
But like literally everybody else, like the background characters, clean
I agree
clothes.
With your overall point.
Yeah.
You know, May has paid 2 poor looking people in the show so far to help her. I don't know.
Like the little girl.
Surprise. Yeah, and these characters are presumably like poor people.
Yeah. And their clothes look like
nice new clothes.
Fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. It's an ongoing problem in Hollywood in general that costumes that look fantastic are red carpet ready.
Yeah.
For characters who don't live on the upper levels of Coruscant.
I just want them to
if
throw
Mon
it in the
Mothma looks ready for a dinner party 24/7, that's correct.
That's expected. Yeah.
If the poor kid on Tatooine does, something's not lining up.
Yeah.
And that goes with all of Hollywood. Your biggest problem, where I think you first pointed out this problem to me, was the new live action Avatar show.
Mm.
Every single character has brand new shiny clothes.
Yeah.
And that didn't make sense in this
These
world.
kids have been like camping. Anyways,
let's stick to Star Wars.
Yeah, that's why I was bringing it back. Let me finish my last point though. Like, it takes me out of the scene when I notice that stuff. It takes me out of like the experience that I'm supposed to be having when I see stuff like that. It's just, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You had 2 complaints, didn't you?
Yeah.
What was the other one?
I don't know if I should make the second complaint.
Just do it. Just do it.
The second
one. We'll delete it if it's too offensive.
Oh, no. So the second one, I don't like. Okay. So I mentioned before, like, their accents don't make sense to me.
Oh.
And so, like, I was reminded again in this last episode. So, like, we have the what is the name of their coven again? Anyways, the witches. You expect them all to, like, they're in one group. They're one big community. And while you expect some of them to be from other planets and stuff, like, so they will have, like, different accents. But, like, in general, like, the kids should have maybe the same accents as like, their parents, as their mothers, right? And, like, they don't. They have it different accents. And that, I struggle with that. Kind of like how when the Jedi don't have all the same accent, because they've been raised in the Jedi temple around all the same people, like, and they've all been there since they were, like, children. So, like, kids pick up accents wherever they live. It doesn't matter if, like, you're, like, Chinese and you grew up in Australia, like, you're gonna have, like, an Australian accent most likely, like, because you grew up there. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, that kind of stuff. That kind of bothers me. And I go, where did they learn this accent from? Because their parents are not there. So where are they learning this from? That's my complaint. It's a very small one.
Yeah, it is unusual to have a group of people who seem to spend their entire life on the same place together and don't sound at all like. I think that's a fair complaint, and it's something that is so obviously wrong. It almost feels like they're intentionally doing it during casting. While to your complaint, I feel like they should be doing the opposite. If I feel like there should be a decision. Everyone from Coruscant sounds like this, and therefore all Jedi, regardless of what they look like, should sound like that, with some obvious exceptions.
Yeah.
Yoda spoke strangely, and I read somewhere at some point, this could be wrong, that he did that in remembrance of his master, and it was like a respect thing. So yeah, there going to be a few exceptions to the rule, but generally everyone who grows up in the same place around the same time period sounds same-ish.
Yeah.
And these people don't. And that, not that it needs an explanation, but it takes you out of it when you're watching it. Like, didn't these kids grow up in the same neighborhood at the same time? And they sound like they're from different countries.
Yep.
And it's hard to ignore because it feels like I missed something in the story.
Yep. That's exactly it. Anyways, those are my 2 complaints. But otherwise, loving the show. I'm excited for the next. Okay, I'm excited for like the next episode to see like where we're going to next, and just to learn more about this storyline.
Yeah, I think what I'm looking forward to is the same thing I was at the end of episode 2. Master Indara says to May when they first meet again, now that May's a grown-up, in that first episode, that Jedi don't attack unarmed people. And May says, I should have looked up the line, but May says, I've seen you do it before.
Yeah, something to that extent.
And I want that flashback of May seeing that happen. And there's a scene in this episode where after May starts the fire, and then Osha escapes, and they meet each other at the bridge that's falling apart in their home. And they both shout at each other, what did you do? And then the other one's like, what did you do? I think May is accusing Osha of staging whatever attack she is running away from that the Jedi are doing to their family right now. Because again, May has witnessed Jedi attacking unarmed people before.
Yeah.
She says that, and so far I don't have any reason to believe May is lying about this.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to see it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm being teased at this point.
Yeah.
Give me these corrupt, trigger-happy Jedi cutting down a load of women in a coven without just cause.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to give up their children. give me that, and I'll be rooting for Team May. Any other closing thoughts?
That's it. I don't have any like predictions or things I'm like super excited for. I'm just settling in and just excited to see where this story takes us. That's all. I'm just enjoying it.
All right.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining. We'll catch you on the next one next week. Okay, we'll talk to you later. Bye.